Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto's News. It's me, Omar Bam, aka Crypto, here to talk about what's going on in crypto this week. Thank you guys so much for the feedback. I asked last week for what kind of feedback you guys had for the show in order to either keep you coming back or make you more excited to come back. And by far and large, pretty much the only feedback you guys had was I need to be more consistent and I need to upload every week, at least every week or every other week, but make it consistent. And I do want to try to do that. So it's a pleasure to be back. And I think it's a special day to be back here with y'all because we got another all-time high that just came in for Bitcoin. So we're going to be looking at that, talking about probably the main driver of it and what we can expect from here, along with plenty of other news. So welcome to the show, guys. A deep reminder to hit that like button if you enjoy this. It'll help us grow. Tell your friends if they're getting interested in crypto and they want to stay up to date with what are the major news. And subscribe if you are new and ding that bell for notifications when we are live. Try to do it every Friday, right? Anyway, good to have you guys. Hey, Bitcoin changed my life. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining the stream on short notice. Hey, Full Game. Hi, nice to see you. Steph, thank you so much, man. Number 2 biggest supporter on the show. You actually got a little sticker there on the chat. Really cool. Thank you so much for that, Steph. Beach Whale, nice to see you. Old School, nice to see you here. OG, that is. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. Grab a seat, grab a beverage. Let's get into what I have collected for y'all that I think is the most important and pressing of all news. So let's start off with the prices. We got the market caps overall for crypto up 0.1%, which is a little bit of a surprise to me considering how strong of a week we've been having with altcoins in particular. You can see that we have Ethereum up 18.8% over the last 7 days, XRP up 23.6%. And just when you think that was wild, take a look at Dogecoin. Dogecoin is up 24.6%. So it does seem like it's hinting maybe that we are finally entering what people would call the altcoin cycle. Surely some of the commentators out there are saying it's time for the altcoins, so not Bitcoin, to take the main stage, to be front and center. Not entirely sure that is the case just yet, right? Like 1 week is not enough of a data point, I think, to really fill us in on that. Personally, I've come to the belief that we've kind of left the 4-year halvening cycle. I don't actually feel like this market is mirroring anything at all like we've seen in the past, like 2017. It has inklings of it. It feels a little bit like it, but it's not exact, right? I felt like back then when I was doing videos in 2016, 2017, I could very clearly, and I did often, point at the chart and be like, look at where we are right now. It looks just like this prior cycle back in 2013, right? And I can't really point and really, without just being ridiculous about it or really trying to get nitty and gritty and miniaturizing charts to certain time scales and so on, really point and say this is mirroring anything exactly. To me, perhaps maybe we are in a more long-term bull market, especially with a lot of these drivers like ETFs, which we're going to be looking at in a minute, the Wall Streetization of Bitcoin, the institutionalization, with countries adopting these kinds of things as reserves assets. We're in a completely different kind of period right now. And I'm not the believer like, oh, we're going to see all-time high in a month or two, and then that's when we sell, right? It's going to be very difficult for me to say when that will be. I mean, we're up for some gains. Let's just put it that way, right? Inflation continuing to tick up. That's really what I'm looking at here. As long as they keep printing fiat, it's going to make its way over to cryptocurrency. So we're seeing some of that. And in regards to the altcoins, I think what's going on here is that they have been quite suppressed. Bitcoin has been on that center stage, and the opportunities may lie elsewhere for more risk hungry kinds of investors, right? Those with more of a risk appetite would rather get into an altcoin with a lower market cap or a lower price. That Tether looks nice at $1, right? Let me buy some of that. Oh, it is that Tether thing again, right? It's not moving. It's not going down, but it's not going up. What's going on? Oh, man. Anyway, there is a reason to hold some of these things. As you guys know, interest continues to pay out for many of these stable coins, so very much reason to be holding it. Tether has been ballooning their assets. They've been talking about as well. So Tether continuing to print. They have not gone down. Yeah, that was the big boogeyman that I thought like would go down even before FTX, right? Am I right? And no, Tether has held up quite well, which I think is probably better for the overall market. But yeah, we have Bitcoin all-time high today. It hit as high as $118,600 earlier before pulling back just slightly to $117,617, up 9%, like I mentioned, over the last 7 days, 1.3% over the last 24 hours. And Ethereum, has now pulled back a little bit more, down 0.8% over the last 24 hours, but right there knocking at $3,000 again for what feels like the 5 billionth time. Will we break it this time? I sure hope so. We're going to be looking at some of these ETF inflows in a little bit and how they are having a massive week, one of the strongest weeks, if not the strongest week that we've ever had for Ethereum ETF inflows. So now that a lot of the legwork and engineering has been done, the infrastructure has been built up for ETFs for Ethereum. It's gonna, I think, be much easier for those things to balloon in assets under management and everything else. So yeah, definitely, like I mentioned in the last video, I still can't really find a reason to get completely out of ETH, considering I've always leaned a little bit riskier. Not like fart coin risky, but Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Anyway, we got Bitcoin previously earlier today actually surpassing Amazon in market cap. So Amazon is at $2.388 trillion market cap, and Bitcoin actually broke over that to the number 5 spot. And we also had a fantastic, so it's back to the number 6 spot. Yep, right over silver. So we actually had a big victory here that I wanted to point out, because in the last video where I pointed at this chart also, I talked about Ethereum down here and how we needed to surpass Palantir. As long as we didn't surpass Palantir, I wasn't going to be happy, and you guys made it happen. We are now at the number 31 spot, right under Platinum at $355 billion market cap, and Palantir is down here at 335. Let's continue to sell that. Let's continue to hope for the demise of that creature, and root for better things. Good stuff. Anyway, what it could possibly be driving some of this excitement and investment into the market, I think really it's as simple as this small little blurb. This is my initial intuition. So for immediate release from, I believe, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the Federal Housing Agency put this out. Statement from Chairman of the Board, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, William J. Poult, on reports that Jerome Powell, the current chair of the Federal Reserve, is considering resigning. I mean, it's like every single day that Trump is asking him to resign ahead of it when he's supposed to. I believe sometime early next year, Q1. It looks like it might be earlier than that. So the report here by William J. Poult says, "I'm encouraged by reports that Jerome Powell is considering resigning. I think this will be the right decision for America, and the economy will boom." So, of course, people are saying, he was so conservative when it came to inflation. He kept rates up there despite tariffs, despite so many factors that pointed to potentially higher inflation. He stood his ground and said, I need to see inflation come down. And so he is great. Whatever we get on the other side of him might not be as great when it comes to inflation. We might see that explode. So we'll likely see we'll see an economy boom, but first a boom and then a bust almost immediately afterward. But this is coming either way. It's not really going to be a surprise to you guys if you've been following macroeconomics in any serious way for any amount of time. Then you already realize it doesn't matter. They're stuck down here right around 0%. Can't go much lower without going negative. And either way, debt has to be paid. The money will be printed and it will be out there. And we'll see its way over to financial assets, very likely. So anyway, just this comment, which could have easily been put up on Twitter, right? Instead, it's put up on an official government website, is talking about Jerome Powell maybe secretly telling sources, reports, that he is planning on leaving. And that would be something that obviously is going to be driving risk appetite and making people want to get excited about getting into risk assets such as cryptocurrencies, which is probably why we're seeing this explosion, besides a huge amount of liquidations that we're going to be looking at that catapulted Bitcoin ever higher than maybe would have even been possible without that, right? What's up, Mr. Orange? Oh, and you're the number one out here. Number one supporters. We got Quentin and Mr. Orange. Thank you guys for making it out, man. Really nice to see you. Yeah, we're on a roll right now. Yeah, I already pulled what I could off of Cointelegraph. We'll look at that in a minute. But yeah, Bitcoin rockets past $118,000, leads to over $1 billion in shorts getting liquidated. Today was the day of the highest amount of liquidations that we have seen in 2025. Over the past 24 hours, over $1.13 billion in positions. Most of those, over 90%, were on the short side. So people betting against, or institutions, whatever, entities betting against Bitcoin going higher, and they got nasty liquidated, which forced buying of Bitcoin, which catapulted the price even higher to balance out these leverage positions. Really huge. There was something else down here. Nah, whatever. 237,000 traders were liquidated in total. There was one particular trade, I believe that was mentioned here, one trade that was massive that got the single largest hit was one position that was worth $88.5 million by itself, a BTC versus Tether short on HTX. Yeah, nearly 90% of all positions were short. So huge. Also, Ethereum had massive liquidations as well, over $200,000 in liquidations, but nothing compared really to over $1 billion for Bitcoin, just a fifth of that roughly. Ethereum ETFs are seeing a huge inflow explode. Like suddenly people are hungry for Ethereum. Investors are pouring capital into US listed Ether ETFs, helping push the asset's price to $3,000, or just short of it rather. So BlackRock's iShares Ethereum Trust recorded its largest daily inflow ever on Thursday, while the 9 US listed ETH ETFs attracted $703 million in net inflows this week, the third largest in their history altogether, right? All 9 of those. So really huge. What's interesting here is that what this chart points at here in this section is that we had Ethereum assets under management, so the amount of ETH that these ETFs are holding under their management started to go up while we still had the price dipping down. You can see that here in the orange and blue lines, the orange being the Ethereum price. While we saw around June the Ethereum price kind of drop a little bit into July, we saw that assets under management started to go up. And traditionally, they've kind of tracked each other really closely. So this could have been one of our first hints that maybe the price was going to have to, well, there was going to have to be a balance between these assets under management and the Ethereum price. It's not exactly a science that they're going to follow each other, but traditionally they had. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was quite interesting. This is part of what drew the price up, this appetite for ETFs that are now easier and easier ever to acquire in so many different ways. And not to be left behind, Trump apparently launching his own crypto ETF from inside the White House. So I don't know if he launched it from inside the White House or in the basement or in some sort of like tech center next door, but surely while he was president, or while he is president, this is launching on behalf of the Trump Media and Technology Group, or the DJT, of which he is a majority shareholder. So not exactly just Trump, but his company and his team, of which he's a major role in, right? And someone who benefits greatly off of it, being a major shareholder. It launched the Truth Social Blue Chip Crypto ETF. They have announced a product that will directly hold Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Kronos, and Ripple. There's Kronos again. We remember that the World Liberty Financial Group, which he was also associated with, but now only has about a 30% share of, that we had talked about a few weeks ago. They had also accrued some Kronos. So I had been saying, yeah, look, they're buying Kronos, they're buying Chainlink, they're buying these other coins. Maybe these are things you want to be looking at if you are trying to just get into some risk. So the company said the ETF will allocate 70% to Bitcoin, 15% to Ether, and smaller stakes in the remaining coins. Crypto.com is going to serve as a digital asset custodian, prime execution agent, staking provider, and liquidity partner. And of course, the ETF is still awaiting regulatory approval. Probably going to get it. And while this is going on, we have the Ethereum price going up, more and more occurring from Trump and ETFs, the price exploding, traders getting liquidated, and then here comes the Ethereum Foundation and announces that they have sold, what is it, 100,000 ETH, I believe it is, or no, 10,000 ETH. So memes began to spring up like this one. So we're selling from the Foundation wallet again. Here's why. So people are like, wow, the Ethereum Foundation really only exists to sell when the price goes up. I mean, it's smart financial management, I suppose, right? You don't want to sell when the price is down, especially if you're the Ethereum Foundation. Generally, you want to see everybody else who's holding it get rich first, and then you can sell some and take your piece. But what's really going on here? Let's dig a little bit deeper. The Ethereum Foundation sells 10,000 ETH to SharpLink. First time I actually hear about this company, and first such over-the-counter deal. So they've never worked with a private company and sold a swath of ETH to them. That is the Ethereum Foundation. This is the first time to SharpLink that has ever happened. But what is interesting here is, and by the way, this over-the-counter deal, meaning it's not being sold on an exchange, on a spot exchange. It didn't immediately show up in some sort of order book somewhere and impact the price. This was like an over-the-counter, really under-the-counter deal. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about if you're in crypto. Worth 20. This is a backdoor deal worth $25.7 million, marking the first time a publicly listed company has directly acquired the token directly from the protocol's core steward. It was executed at an average price of $2,572.37 per ETH, and obviously, the price is higher than that, so we really didn't see it being reflected negatively on the price, which makes sense because this company, I believe their ticker symbol is SBET. They are going to be holding on to this ETH and using it as a treasury asset, as a reserve asset, and they're going to be engaging with the network by staking it and supporting the network in that way and other kinds of ways. So you can see here on their Twitter, they updated their description here, their bio: the world's largest publicly traded company to adopt Ethereum as its primary treasury reserve asset. The asset is ETH. The ticker is SBET. We believe Ethereum is on track to becoming the foundational layer for global finance, which I talked about in the last video. That was really the mission here that was being talked about by this new group that is trying to push the Ethereum price up to $10,000, which we covered quite a bit. Kind of refocusing and remembering that it's not about unicorns and infinite gardens. It's, at the end of the day, security is important, and price directly has to do with security. So we do have to have some sort of a focus on it. And Ethereum, above all, was kind of an evolution in finance. So this company is placing a serious bet, a SharpLink bet, that is going to be the case for Ethereum. Not just a new tech platform, but a settlement layer for real assets, AI agents, and the next generation of market infrastructure. If you were around when I had Griff Green on the show recently, he spoke about how he was already using AI agents. Some of the Ethereum developers he worked with or knows were also tinkering really hardcore with these AI agents, so it makes sense. SBET SharpLink Gaming, first publicly listed company to adopt Ethereum as primary treasury reserve asset. So, you have that first mover, and based on how they do, they're going to inspire other companies to want to adopt Ethereum as well. So maybe, there's so many companies already doing so with Bitcoin. You can make a name for yourself by picking a different coin. They have picked Ethereum. Our strategy is simple: accumulate ETH, stake ETH, grow ETH per share. It almost makes more sense to me than some of the mental gymnastics and the Rube Goldberg machines that we see of strategies, MicroStrategy previously, of what they try to do in order to grow their holdings of Bitcoin. It actually makes sense what they're doing here. Just buy ETH, stake it using the network itself, what it does, and then grow ETH per share. Our goal is not just to hold ETH, but to activate it using native staking, restaking, and Ethereum-based yield strategies. Farming strategies. Welcome back, 2020 and 2021, to increase the value of our treasury and create long-term shareholder value. We believe ETH is a superior asset for corporate reserves. It's productive via staking. It's composable, usable across protocols. It's the most interlinked protocol that exists out there to this day. It's scarce, secure, incredibly neutral. It's aligned with the infrastructure of the future. internet. SBET exists to give investors access to the upside through a regulated, transparent public equity. The asset is ETH. The ticker is SBET. So seems like they've done their homework and they're really trying to get in here and use this thing and help their shareholders, right? Strategic bet on Ethereum. They went ahead and put it on their website. You can check the About section. What exactly is this company? They're a trusted marketing partner to leading sports books and online casino gaming operators worldwide. And the chairman of the board is none other than Joseph Lubin, the previous head of Consensus, not to be confused with Consensus Conference, which is hosted by CoinDesk, but Consensus with a Y at the end, which is headed by Joseph Lubin and one of the most influential companies earlier on and investors in the Ethereum ecosystem. So yep, he's behind all of this. So it kind of makes sense that they kind of understand Ethereum and are getting behind Ethereum. This is not just some like scrubs on Twitter that are trying to hang on. They probably know their stuff here with Joseph Lubin at the head in this new venture. Anyway, wanted to give you a heads up on that one. That's pretty major news for Ethereum. Also, BlackRock buying a staggering 108,718.82 Ethereum worth $300.9 million. So if you thought 10,000 that SBET acquired OTC was a lot, look at BlackRock that is trying to buy everything. They are trying to own all of the real estate in the world, and they're trying to own all of the Ethereum as well. That is huge. 108,000 plus ETH, massive. SBET's bet pales in comparison, but they obviously don't have the same kind of firepower as BlackRock. Anyway, this fine fellow here, you just have to give a nod to him because this particular headshot is making the rounds around Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Crypto, someone you might be familiar with, especially if you've been in crypto for over the last couple of years or last, I guess, since 2018, I would say, is when he really made a name for himself. I remember, like I've talked about, being on a bus with him. I last met him in Miami in 2021, I believe. It was 2021, 2022. It was a conference hosted in Miami by Bitcoin Magazine, and there was a party. I was working with Gemini Crypto Exchange at the time. You might remember I had the last sponsorship deal, and one of the only I've ever done with Gemini, a trusted exchange out there. Winklevoss twins, who helped create the idea for Facebook, which got stolen by Mark Zuckerberg. Anyway, they instead have gone deeper into crypto because they kind of failed in social media, so they decided they wanted to be leading the way with crypto, and they've, by the most part, done that quite well through Gemini and their influences. But anyway, at this event hosted on a private party in an island, I remember seeing Ben Armstrong there, and I was having my own kind of mental issues deep into this show almost every single day, and I kind of felt the same vibe from Ben Armstrong. I feel like I've managed to turn around a lot of it, and I'm in a healthier place, but I don't know that it's been the case for Ben Armstrong, who had kind of doubled down on a lot of the ridiculousness that he began to do, as I guess the market was not faring well. Maybe his drug use was exacerbating, as we can hear from reports from his team. But yeah, he's back because of this headshot that has been released. And here's Martini Guy, another content creator. It's not a bull market without BitBoy. I'm trying to arrange a phone call with him to see how he is. Free BitBoy. I wonder how popular that hashtag is. Let's click on it. Do we have a lot of free BitBoys? I guess some people are posting about free BitBoy. It's a trending hashtag, as I guess we can say. But yeah, this almost reminds me of that, like when you've been in crypto for any length of time meme that we've seen before. And I think it's safe to say we could replace it with Ben Armstrong's face, sadly for him at this time and his family, right? This headshot was released by Cherokee County Jail bookings in Georgia. He was arrested in Georgia. He was being sought after from Florida after he started threatening a judge and making ridiculous phone calls. Here's a snippet from cryptonews.com. In March, he was arrested in Florida on a fugitive warrant from Georgia related to emails he allegedly sent to Cobb County Superior Court Judge Kimberly Childs in connection with an ongoing defamation case. Representing himself in court, Armstrong later confirmed the arrest stemmed from those communications. The influencer is also facing a federal defamation lawsuit from Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary. The suit accuses Armstrong of spreading false claims, including I didn't know about this part, including calling O'Leary a real-life murderer over a 2019 boating accident that resulted in 2 deaths and several missing Ledger hardware wallets, probably. O'Leary was never charged, is seeking more than $75,000 in charges. The case remains active in Florida federal court, where a motion for default judgment was recently filed. And here's a tweet that they put here. I called it from the start, says Melted Minds on Twitter, and honestly tried to tell him this was the path. I guess if he continued the path he was on. This is not cocaine. That is a crystal meth addiction. He needs a 36-month prison sentence, which would help him more than anything else. I have heard all sorts of reports that he is actually in a mental institution at this time, or that he's still in jail, or that he was just released when people were first sharing this headshot. From my understanding, he is not released yet. He's actually still in jail. We haven't heard any updates from him directly. Armstrong's personal and legal troubles accelerated after he was removed from the Hit Network. I had some friends of mine still at the company. The crypto media company he co-founded. The company cited alleged substance abuse, financial misconduct, and erratic behavior as the reasons for separation. And many of you might remember that infamous video in September 2023 when he went over to a former colleague's house, Carlos Diaz, armed with a weapon to try to get his Lamborghini back that was confiscated because it was a company car, but he thought it was his or something. Anyway, he was detained in his driveway by police and arrested. They found illegal narcotics in the vehicle, and in the vehicle, he was also with his mistress, who he had been cheating with on his wife, You guys get where I'm going at. Anyway, he had a wife who was cheating with this woman, and she was in the car as well. And it's just been like drama after drama surrounding BitBoy, and he hasn't managed to kind of claw up, though he tried after being, I guess you could say, ousted or kicked out of the Hit Network, trying to rebrand by himself. It hasn't really panned out too well. It says here, crypto icon, undefeated fighter, published author, finance educator. Yeah, he was in some sort of arranged fight as well. YouTube extraordinaire. BTC since December 2012. Sold a top in 2013. That's news to me. I wonder how much we could make up. But anyway, coming to take my crown back. I guess we could post anything that we want. Only Grok is going to fact check us over here on X. Maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe it's true. But he didn't really show up on my radar until 2018, and I was deep in crypto since 2015. Never heard about him at all. Anyway, the last message that was posted on his account was pinned here on June 6th, and so that's over a month ago. If anyone would like to include a positive message to Ben in a letter, please comment it below. Thank you. So someone else is in control of his account, and they solicited positive comments in this post to put in a letter to deliver to Ben. So no, he wasn't pinning this himself from jail. However, what I wanted to point out here was R.A.C. Raymond asked, is he in jail for threatening the judge? Harassing the judge might be a little better stated. There were certainly no physical threats to my recollection, and none of the phone calls and those supposedly threats to the judge, Kimberly Childs, were ever released. There were, again, like 17 different phone calls, so he just kind of went nuts on the phone toward a judge. I don't know what led him to believe he had power over the courts and the law, but yeah, he kind of overstepped himself, I guess you could say. And John asks, is he in jail? So this is on June 6th. Is he still in jail? And the account wrote, indeed. So he's still in jail. When does he get out? No response. So we don't know. We just know that the last we heard of was that he was in jail as of June 6th. So still a month ago, still locked up. Anyway, that's just a bit of an update on BitBoy. Maybe you guys know some more information. If you could comment that down below. Or actually, let's do this. What is the most ridiculous thing that Ben has done? It's hard to name one, but if you have any videos and you want to comment it down below for all of our viewers' pleasures and my own, please do so. Or if you want to share some sort of personal anecdote, we'll just keep it fun and light. Well, maybe not for Ben. I feel bad for him. I do hope sincerely that he is getting the medical treatment and recovery that he needs, and that withdrawal, if so, is going not too bad for him. That he could reflect, that he's reflecting, taking this time, and comes back a better person on the other end. I do feel like that comment said that maybe 36 months or whatever in prison could be the best thing for him. Maybe. Not all prisons are the same. Let's put it that way. And crypto fear and greed index, I just wanted to pull this up as we begin to wrap up here. We right now are ticking up, so we're at a 67. We're back in the greed territory, breaking over neutral. And if you look at this chart here, going back to like 2023, whenever we get over into the extreme greed territory, we have like, what is it, like about a month to sell before it crashes back down. We're still not in this extreme greed territory. So should we take profits here? Personally, and this is not financial advice, I'm not pulling any profits here. I'm happy to continue to ride this thing. If you don't have to sell, I wouldn't, especially if you're holding solid stuff. In the long term, how often do we have to prove that Bitcoin just continues? They called me crazy back when I started doing this back in 2016 publicly on YouTube for really believing in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Bitcoin was around $250 at the time. Ethereum was around $10. And eventually I got tired of saying like told you so, and it's still the case where I feel like it's going to go much higher, and I'm not going to say told you so. I think it should be evident. If you haven't taken the time to realize it, then you're stupid. Anyway, sorry, it's true. But check this out, right? Like, this is a hint. The hours of work needed to buy one Bitcoin at average US wage, needing to work more and more hours in order to buy one Bitcoin. Just a new kind of metric. We can find plenty to show how Bitcoin holds our value. But I think what's most important in life, as we all know, the only currency we cannot buy is time. So, yeah, by holding a little bit of this stuff, I think you're protecting yourself. Anyway, here's Abraham Lincoln's quote of the day: "I will prepare, and someday my chance will come." It's kind of prescient also in the time of AI, when everyone, it feels like Generation Z is just kind of giving up, right? College, unaffordable, ever more expensive. You're not even guaranteed a job anymore, with them talking about entry-level white-collar jobs going away. So like AI is going to be doing those jobs. So it's really only going to be senior staff in AI until AI is doing everything. So like, why bother to go to college? Instead, we're going to do sports betting using S-Bet. So good job, Joseph Lubin, getting ahead of the curve with that one. And we're going to buy meme coins like Fartcoin. There was an interesting chat. There was a video that was put up. It was one of the New York Times podcasts. The guy's name is Ezra Klein, and he had a guest on talking about Generation Z and just what is driving some of these, where they're putting their capital and time. And we are in uncharted territories, my friend. But I still do believe that you should follow your passions. And who knows what comes in the future, but better to be prepared than not at all, would be my suggestion here. But it also applies to buying some crypto. So anyway, that's the show I have for you guys. Not selling rain. What's up, Claude? Good to see you, man. It has been a roller coaster, beached whale indeed. And anyone else that I missed your comments, be internet user, I didn't really acknowledge that, but I hope you're doing well as well. I'll catch you guys later. I hope to read your comments down below pertaining to anything we talked about, especially BitBoy in particular today, just for funsies. And yeah, take care, guys. I'll catch you next time, hopefully with a new all-time high for Ethereum as well as Bitcoin. Not holding my breath, but I think it's going to be coming soon. Take care, much love, and stay cryptic. Peace.